On August 26, 2025, the Cardi B trial was live streamed to the world. Cardi B right now is facing a civil lawsuit from former security guard Emani Ellis, who alleges that the Grammy-winning rapper assaulted her at her OBGYN office in 2018. Cardi B right now is being sued for $24 million. She's worth reportedly $101 million. This case is going to cost her $24 million if she loses. I have watched the entire court recording of day one to get the nitty-gritty, to really venture down the rabbit hole, so you don't have to. Now let's get into the disclaimer. I am not a law major, nor do I have a law degree, or do I look like I practice law? No, I'm just a messenger with a lot of opinion. If you're a psychologist, if you're a law practitioner, if you're a therapist, if you're a doctor, if you are a gynecologist, if you are a nail tech, if you're a security guard, you need to let me know what you think of this case. Second thing, I try to pick up whatever I can from the live streams, but sometimes I really just can't hear what they're saying. If that's the case, I'll let you know. Third, I will either be condensing or summarizing statements, or only include certain parts that are, in my opinion, crucial, because this video is not supposed to be 10 hours long. Lastly, most important part, this is only for entertainment purposes only. I've linked all the videos down below if you want to conduct your own research, come to a conclusion on your own, babes. With that said, I need you to grab a drink, grab some snacks, because this is going to be a long one. First, I'm gonna jump right in. We're gonna go into opening statement. Opening statement from Emani, the plaintiff's lawyer, is essentially just a summary of what happened and the consequences that Emani faced. When life gives you lemon, you do not make lemonade. He starts off, so basically the evidence will show that this is a case where Emani Ellis on February 24, 2018 at around 7 a.m. went to her job as she usually did as a security guard. He continues to tell the court that Emani was doing her rounds, and then he points at Cardi and says, and the defendant got off the elevator. Let's pause right here. I need to get this off my chest. I did this last, okay? My entire notes about the court recording, I did this part last because I almost forgot that he had an opening statement. And I gotta say, you know, when he talks, it's not very convincing when he speaks. It's not firm, you know? He's not painting a picture. But then again, maybe it's because I'm not in the courtroom. I can't really see his body language. I don't see his face in the video recording. So maybe it's because I'm not there. From the sound of it, it really sounds like he doesn't want to be there. Emani doesn't want to be there. Anyway, let's go back. He continues that Emani was excited when she saw Cardi, and then the action happened. Quote, the evidence will show you that the plaintiff had an earpiece on her phone in her ear, and when she was there in the building, Cardi mistakenly thought that Emani Ellis was telling people Cardi was at the building, but that's not the case. This is Cardi's face. I'm going to basically summarize what he said because, again, it's just a description of what happened according to Emani's end. Emani was working for Allied Security from 2014 to 2018. She was hired on behalf of the landlord, and she had the right to basically tell people to leave or call the police. Then he said that Cardi started to yell, curse, and I quote, say things that don't make sense in this day and age. He means whatever Cardi said is a language that we should not be saying to people. Quote, I'm not going to even say the word. We'll have Emani Ellis tell you what the word is. Spoilers! Is more than one word. And we all know what she said. Okay, there's so many shorts about it. He continues that Cardi took a swing at Emani and attempted to hit her, spat on her, which is considered assault and battery in and of itself. Quote, and then finally, to make it all worse and make it really bad, Cardi B then in the attack cut Emani Ellis' left cheek. Because Cardi B is left-handed, she cut Emani's left cheek. Because of this incident, Emani went to a plastic surgeon and was told that she needs to wait for 1 year or 2 years to let the scar mature. We'll get into this later. To treat the scar was so costly and she couldn't really afford it. In April of 2020, we all know what happened. Because of what happened in 2020, plastic surgery in that form was considered elective surgery, meaning it's not emergency. Therefore, you can't have that procedure done then. Emani had to live with that scar for another couple of years. Then in 2021, her first plastic surgeon died. So the one who told her to wait 1 or 2 years, Emani went to another plastic surgeon who will be testifying. Girl, In addition to Cardi's long nails, the lawyer also notes that Cardi had different metal objects that attach to her fingernails, which makes it more dangerous. Because Emani told her grandmother what happened. Her grandmother will be testifying. Quote, the defendant has taken no accountability for what she has done. There should be some level of respect for security guards. End quote. Another quote, no matter what, even if this is not true, even if Emani Ellis told all her friends that Cardi was in the building, there was no reason to curse at her, spit at her, take a swing at her, and cut her face. End quote. I believe that I said the last part more dramatically with passion than he did. You get the picture. That is what happened. The opening statement is a lot of what happened according to Emani and then the consequences. Now we move on to Cardi's team's opening statement. Quote, this is my chance to tell you what I believe the evidence will be. Now, what I say and what the counsel has said today are like promises. At the end of the trial, I want you to remember the promises, because at the end of the trial, I'm going to ask you who kept the promises and who didn't. This is what we expect the evidence will be. Cardi B is a loving mother to 3 young children and a devoted daughter and sister in a tight-knit family. She came from a very humble background. She's a successful recording artist now, but she was born in poverty in New York City's Washington Heights. She worked very hard to get to where she is. And quote, if there's anything that I've learned watching countless hours of Diddy's federal case, it's that opening statement and closing statement are so important. Ultimately, you are talking to the jury. This case has jury. You want them to be on your side. Opening statement is the first thing that they hear, and closing statement is the last thing that they will consider before coming up with a verdict, right? The lawyer needs to think, essentially, like they have to think and talk 10 steps ahead. They need to use keywords. They need to evoke some sort of emotions, I feel. That's my opinion, okay? The lawyers may be 10 steps ahead, okay? But Cardi was 100 steps away with that look. Look at that. Have you ever heard of the saying, the devil works hard, but Kris Jenner works harder? Cardi is giving Kris Jenner. Before we continue, I just want to remind you, because I was kind of confused watching other cases. So plaintiff is the security guard Emani Ellis, who is suing. Defendant is Cardi B. What I'm telling you right now, again, reminder, is from Cardi B's side. This is her side of the story. Her lawyer continues with his statement by setting the scene for the jury. He tells them that it's late February 2018 and Cardi is about 4 months pregnant with her first child. She's in LA for work and she needs a routine checkup. So she gets a recommendation for a gynecologist in Beverly Hills. Side note, this is supposed to be a private meeting. Cardi B mentioned later on in day 2, I believe, that at that point in time, her pregnancy was still a secret to the world. Back to what the lawyer is saying, the appointment is on Saturday afternoon and the doctor even arranges for his staff to leave early so he can see her privately. They are trying to make sure that no one sees her. Cardi doesn't have her security with her because what could happen? She's only going to see the doctor. That was the mentality. Cardi B's lawyer says that the evidence will show that the plaintiff has her phone to her ear when the elevator door opens. As Cardi is trying to get to the doctor, the plaintiff states out loud, "Wow, that was Cardi B." Cardi B turns around, sees the plaintiff holding up her phone, either filming or taking a picture. Cardi says, "Why are you doing that? Why do you think you can photograph me just steps away from my doctor's office?" And side note, girl, we all know that this is the utmost refined version of what Cardi said. We know what she said. Okay, you know, I love an honest queen. Back to the statement, and the evidence will show you that the plaintiff's response is a belligerent. Such a fancy word. Because I can. Cardi B's lawyer tells the court that Emani continues to follow and yell at Cardi as she's trying to get to her doctor's office. At some point, people from the doctor's office hear the commotion and come out to calm things down. They tell Emani to stop, saying, "You are a security guard. What are you doing?" But Emani doesn't stop. So she starts taking swing at Cardi when someone gets in between them. Cardi is backing up from Emani because Emani, in the lawyer's words, is quote, with all the due respect, is also testified 240, 250 pounds, wearing black military boots, hovering over Cardi, yelling and screaming at her and taking swings at her. At some point, Emani yells at Cardi, "I will fuck your shit up." That's when someone drags Emani into an elevator and tells her to leave. The lawyer then promises the jury you will hear Cardi's testimony that she both fear for her and her unborn baby. This is her first pregnancy and a very large woman was advancing towards her. She was utterly confused that a security guard would be her attacker. Importantly, plaintiffs has repeatedly changed her story over the last 7 years. You will hear evidence under oath that she stated in what is called discovery. Cardi beat her about the head and body. And so this part about the discovery over the last 7 years, Emani's story reportedly goes something like this. First, Emani says that Cardi scratched her nose. Then it changed from her nose to her cheek. Then it changes to Cardi actually never touching her at all. Quote, to put it mildly, we expect the evidence will establish that plaintiffs is not telling the truth. And quote, girl. I feel like at this point, I would just pack my bags and say, withdraw. Then Cardi's lawyer starts to talk about the allegation that Cardi got Emani fired and the whole thing gets shut down. We can't see exactly what happened or who is objecting to it because the camera is glued to Cardi, but it doesn't even matter because the judge confirms that the claim was withdrawn. So as it turns out, Emani has already withdrawn the statement about Cardi getting her fired from work. And this is Cardi's face when that happened. Finally, Cardi's lawyer thanks the court and what bam. Let a Quidditch begin. So after the opening statement, the first person to take the stand is the plaintiff herself, Emani Ellis. Usually we'll be looking at whoever is taking the stand, but obviously this is not the case for Law and Crime. The camera is glued to Cardi still. Emani's own lawyer starts questioning basically to establish who she is. We find out that she's 32 now, but back then when this all went down on February 24, 2018, she was 25. She's the oldest of 5 kids. She lived with her mother up until she was 19. Her lawyer asks her, what were you doing on that day and where were you? And Emani tells the court, I was at work on duty as security guard. The address of the building was 8920 Wilshire Boulevard. I hope I'm saying that correctly. We find out that by February 2018, Emani has already been working as a security guard for 4 years, so she's not new to this. And she explains that to be a security guard in California, you have to be licensed by the state. You cannot have criminal records, you cannot have assault cases, you cannot have battery cases. Guess what? Emani has a degree in criminal justice administration. We'll get to that later. The lawyer is essentially, in my opinion, right now painting a very clear picture that Emani is someone who is professional at her work and she does not have anything on black and white to go to show otherwise. Then he gets to the most important question. Were Emani taking picture of Cardi B? According to Emani, the answer is no. Okay. Let's use hands now. Emani is doing her rounds as a security guard and she has her phone with her. Emani is on the 5th floor. The elevator door opens and there is Cardi B. Emani is in front of Cardi B. Emani has a normal fan reaction saying something like, that looks like Cardi B, or wow, that's Cardi B. But she insists that when she was in front of Cardi B, that she did not take photo of Cardi B. In her version of events, she gets inside the elevator as Cardi is exiting. Okay, this is Cardi B, this is Emani. And this is it. This is it. How did this become 24 million? You know, if they went their separate ways. But apparently, according to Emani, this interaction was so damaging that right now, this interaction is worth $24 million. You want to know why? Fingernails. For those of you who are wondering, so many talks about fingernails and I've seen comments about why are we asking Cardi B's like how long is her fingernails? Because this whole case is built around fingernails. Emani is saying that she got injuries on her face which require plastic surgery and therapy to recover, all of which was amounted to $36,000, out of which is lien. Lien is a legal agreement where a doctor or therapist provide treatment to a patient who has a pending personal injury lawsuit. Instead of the patient paying up front, the medical provider agrees to wait for the payment and in return, they place a legal claim on any money the patient might win from the lawsuit. Meaning, she's going to use the $24 million to pay for this $36,000. If you ask me, that's a lot of tenfolds, you know? Anyway, let's continue the scene. Emani says that when Cardi heard her fan reaction, Cardi B turns around and tells her, why TF are you telling people that you have seen me? Imani's initial reaction is to calm her down and assure her that she is not telling anyone about this interaction. But Cardi is upset. She puts a finger to her face, saying, yes, TF, you did. Back to the courtroom, Emani's lawyer asks, when she put her finger in your face, does she have long fingernails? Emani tells the court she remembers Cardi's fingernails being 2 to 3 inches long, and she has seen Cardi with such long nails in different pictures and videos of Cardi. Are we thinking the same thing right now? Are we thinking the same thing? Or am I the only one? Do you remember Rihanna before she had kids? Did you see her without long nails ever when she's in public? She barely had short nails. It's like Chloe with short nails. Whenever I see Cardi on the stage, her nails are always long. Anyway, calm down. I need to calm down. Emani's lawyer then tries to point out that today, August 26, 2025, that Cardi is wearing short, less than an inch fingernails, which immediately gets objected to because I know where you're going with this. Maybe he's trying to say like, well, you know, she's wearing short nails today because she doesn't want to look bad, or maybe she's guilty. But it get objected to. Before this incident, Emani says that she was a fan of Cardi. She enjoyed her music. She didn't have any problems with her. She even had tickets to go see her in 2018. Cardi B got popular in 2017 with Bodak Yellow. You hear that song once, it gets stuck in your head for the rest of the month. Let's say 2018, which concert do you think Emani was referring to? Because early 2018, I don't see any solo Cardi concert right here. I believe maybe it's like Coachella, especially according to her location, which is about like 2 hours away. In Coachella, Cardi is about 6 months pregnant. Long nails, of course. Cardi. Let's go back to the courtroom again. Emani's lawyer asks her, you are very close with your grandmother, is that correct? Correct. How old is your grandmother? She is 79. Does she have information about this incident? Objection! After the incident, Emani shows her grandmother the cut on her cheek. Her grandmother is coming to court to testify shortly. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Let me just remind you that because I'm about to ask you something. Do you think your grandmother is your ride or die? Mine is. What about yours? I love my grandma. Anyway, Emani's lawyer brings us back to the multi-million-dollar moment. Okay, this moment. What were the words that Cardi used that were so hurtful? So you can see that Emani says that Cardi was body shaming her. She was using racial slurs and Cardi even spat at her. So this is all happening according to Emani inside the lift. Unless I'm reading into this wrong, Emani and then steps out of the lift because she wants to clarify the misunderstanding, even though Cardi is causing a disturbance. So that means that Emani is approaching Cardi, even though Cardi is the one allegedly causing disturbance by screaming and yelling. Emani doesn't want her to leave. The lawyer then asks Emani, as a security guard, were you working as an extension of the owner to be able to make that kind of call whether someone should be told to leave because they are causing a disturbance? So that's the question. But Emani tells him to repeat the questions, but he changes it. He says, I'm going to ask you a different question. Did the landlord hire you as a security guard to protect its building? I feel like he's just trying to lead into that she had rights to tell Cardi to leave, but Cardi didn't leave, and Cardi, in fact, harmed her physically and mentally. Or I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into this. You let me know. Lawyers in the comments, you gotta let me know. To establish that Emani is a responsible and professional security guard, Emani says that she has never had a problem with anyone, not even one time. Not that she can remember. She's not a perfect employee, but a good one. The lawyer continues his line of questioning. Did the defendant take a swing at you? She did. So Cardi did swing at her, but it did not land. That's what Emani is saying. But her fingernails cut her face. Because of that cut, she had to undergo plastic surgery. Now let's get to know the scene, because I'd be doing this, I'm saying this. We get to the point where they start to show us where this multi-million-dollar interaction happened. Okay, we got pictures. This is the security booth. This is where Emani was sitting, allegedly. And this is the lift. This is the specific lift. And that's the area around the lift. You might be wondering, what are those things? Like, for 1 second, I thought that they were photoshopped, but they're actually garbage. Imagine, like, you have a 24 million case, And this is the photo. Like, you couldn't even get rid of the garbage. The garbage was obviously not there at the time of the incident. That's the hallway. And this is going to come in handy later, because if I do a second video on this, Cardi will be testifying that Emani was following her down that hallway. Okay. When the camera pans back to Emani from the evidence screen, also, why did the camera pans like so slow? Why? Like, are we... Look at this. Maybe they're using a very good quality one, but they need to invest in a mic. No, actually don't. This is a waste of taxpayers' money. Anyway, when the camera pans back to Emani, the whole time, to be honest, when she talks, she's swinging left to right, and her chin is slightly tilted upwards. I think that she's a little nervous. Again, I'm not body language analyst or whatever, but it just looks like she's trying to show up and not be intimidated, but she is low-key nervous. Emani tells the court that she didn't intend to sue after the incident. Her lawyer asks, "Is that why you didn't take photographs?" Emani says yes. But this whole thing gets immediately objected to. There's this strategy in courtroom also. Okay guys, I'm learning like a little bit about law, watching Law and Crime and also Rotten Mango. And I've heard them talking about this strategy in court. When words are said in court or when questions are asked in court, it's almost quite impossible for the jurors or any human beings to go, okay, backspace, we gotta forget this part when it's objected to, when the objection is sustained or when something is striked. You can't really do that. So it could be used as a strategy for sure. But anyway, her lawyer rephrases his question to, "Why did you not take photographs of the scar after the incident?" Emani tells the court that it was because she was upset and there was a lot going on and that she was not sure. After this incident, Emani decided not to continue down the path of criminal justice administration, even though she has a bachelor's degree in this field. Now she works in social services. She works with low-income families to access resources. According to Emani, Cardi also posted different things about Emani to her fans. She says, quote, "probably about 2 instances." But she, Emani, did not do the same thing back to Cardi. It's safe to assume that Emani did not engage online. I tried finding the post made by Cardi in regards to Emani. I could not find any, so if you can, you let me know. Emani decides to seek medical treatment from a psychologist named Nicole McKenzie approximately 2 months after the incident, and Emani finds Dr. McKenzie counseling and therapy helpful at the time. Around the same time, Emani also decides to seek medical treatment from a cosmetic plastic surgeon named John Shear, who unfortunately died in 2021. We talked about him just now. This is her first plastic surgeon. From Emani's lawyers, quote, "When you saw him, Dr. John Shear, did he advise you that you needed to wait at least 1 year to determine if the cut becomes a scar?" This gets objected to. He rephrases, "Did Dr. Shear ask you to return approximately 1 year after for the first time?" To which Emani answers with, "He did." The reason why that she was told to come back 1 or 2 years later is because Dr. Shear, the plastic surgeon, didn't want to treat her cut prematurely. As someone with acne scars on their face, girl, I get scars like every other month. I was unfortunately told after I got a ton of acne scars that scars should be attended to as early as possible. So this statement is very weird to me, but I did a little bit of digging and here's what I found. Attending to some scars too early can disrupt the body's natural healing process, which could potentially irritate the tissue and lead to a worse outcome like raised scar, like a keloid. By waiting 1 or 2 years after the scar is formed, the doctor can identify appropriate treatment for the scar. Back to the courtroom, Emani says that the cut made a scar, but she's not sure if it's a keloid. But one thing is for sure, she did not have any scars on her left cheek or anywhere on her face before this incident. All I hear, "I got perfect skin." The other day, I bumped my head in the cabinet and it almost felt like my brain shook. I feel like with this lawsuit, at this point, I could sue the cabinet. I could sue the maker of the cabinet because that's where the money is. Back to the scar, Emani had to get plastic surgery to get it fixed. Her lawyer asks, "What about the cost of the treatment? Could you afford to pay 15-20K to get plastic surgery to your face?" Emani says no, and her new doctor agreed to treat her scar on a lien basis. Quote, is it your understanding that regardless of the outcome of this case, you still owe Dr. Mullican the fees for the treatment that he did? Emani says, yes. So far, we have 1 psychologist, 2 plastic surgeons. Emani also saw a pain management doctor once. Besides Dr. Mackenzie, the psychologist, she also saw different psychologists, including Alex Davila and other psychologists between October 8th, 2022 to July 2nd, 2023. Dr. Davila's office also agreed to treat Emani on a lien basis. Same thing for Dr. Mackenzie. From Emani's lawyer, is it your understanding that your total medical bills related to this case are $36,000? The judge adjusts his scene. He doesn't even look at him. He just tells him, you need to start with foundation. It's giving teacher in the classroom. I've been here way too many times. Be precise, sit down. I'm tired. Now, let's get to the most mind-boggling part. Okay, let me ask you something. If you go out and you seek treatment, would you be considering your medical bills? I mean, I would. Me going to a clinic, I would do that. I have to think, okay, is this going to be covered by insurance? Do I have to cover it on my own? If I can't pay for it on my own, like I have to check for government hospitals and I need to know which government hospital to go to. I will have to keep track of my medical record, medical bills, and not just for myself, but also, for company claims. Emani tells the courtroom that she's not sure if she received medical bills at her home from different medical providers that she's used. Her lawyer asks, again, did some of the medical providers send you bills to your home? This time she says, I'm sure. Yes. The lawyer continues with, quote, did some of the medical providers that I mentioned advise you of the amounts that they were charging you for their medical treatments? And she says, yes. So she knows fully. Her lawyer continues, do you still suffer from psychological issues related to this case? This gets objected to and the objection gets sustained. But Emani answers, I do. Yes. I don't think that she did this maliciously. Both Emani and Cardi did this thing where they almost immediately answer the question when it's asked. So I don't think that this is malicious, more like reflex. But then again, it goes back to my point. This still could be used strategically. Now let's go back to Emani's grandmother. Emani visits her grandmother once a month and her grandmother lives in Las Vegas. She's 79 and she's ready to go up on the stage to testify for her granddaughter. As someone who's trying to relate this whole courtroom recording to you, I realized that Emani's lawyer tends to jump around different points. Just now we talked about grandmother all of a sudden, then there was a screaming match. Now we are talking about grandmother again, and it's about to go back to how Emani has decided not to work as a security guard anymore. So I am very curious about this behavior. According to Google, he may be jumping around different points to hook the jury emotionally. So he could be prioritizing emotional impact over chronological, can't say that word, timeline. Other than this, it's possible that he's planting seeds to paint an overall big picture and other reasons, but you know what, to be honest, I think it's just messy. It's not working. If you watch the courtroom videos as well, you let me know what you think. All right, let's go back to the courtroom again. Get ready in session. Emani's lawyer asks, quote, after this incident, you decided to discontinue working as a security guard. We are not blaming it on the incident, but we are saying that I want to be clear that after this incident, you have decided that you are no longer going to work as a security guard. Emani says, correct. Yes. And before the incident happened, did you have that intention, or did that intention come about after the incident? Emani replies with, it came after the incident. I had plans of promoting, moving up, definitely staying at that job. The camera is staring at Cardi. And I gotta say, Cardi is holding up quite cool. She looks cool as a cucumber. Back to the line of question, Emani actually wanted to be a police officer. Now she doesn't want to be a police officer anymore because, and I quote, I was deeply traumatized about what happened. She deals with anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress, and I quote, I have a scar on my face. She also said, I deal with insomnia and things like that. I saw someone commented, you wanted to be a police officer and this threw you off? And you know what? I gotta say, being a police officer is not easy. You gotta see a lot of things and those things are scary. If you're in the courtroom, you can't be talking like me, saying things like this. things like that. She did a lot. You can't say that. But the camera captures Cardi leaning forward, and I feel like I can almost read her head, you know. This bitch going to take 24 millions for things like that? Lawyers in the video, please, hello, subscribe, you know. But also, do you think it would help your case if your client say things like that? I really need to know. From my research, you know, I gotta do a little bit of research. I want to come with some substance. It doesn't sound like a smart thing to say things like that, you know. Remember we talked about how lawyers are always, you know, well, I guess the good ones, they're always thinking and talking 10 steps ahead. Saying things like that is way too vague and it's going to haunt you later in cross-examination. Then Emani's lawyer asks, "Are you single at this time?" Emani says, "I am." "Were you single at the time of the incident?" "I'm not sure." "Do you believe that this incident has an effect on your future ability to have a partner?" Thank goodness that you asked us, because I did not know where this is going. I thought that you were going to hit on her in the courtroom, but he addressed it, but it got objected to. And who is with me? That I feel like this is sort of reaching. Is it not? Let me just say this in the middle of the video. This video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm covering this video because it's comical. I feel like there's so many holes unless Cardi B really paid off every single person right here. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, Emani's lawyer continues with his questions. Is there anything else that she, Cardi, did on February 24, 2018 to you? Emani answers with, "I mean, the whole incident was super traumatizing for me. She did a lot that day." Again, she did a lot that day. If the account is true, saying that she did a lot that day is only minimizing your suffering. It does not help your case at all, and it doesn't take a law major to say that. Emani continues with that Cardi didn't apologize to her and that she would want Cardi to apologize to her at the end. Now it's time for cross-examination. Guys, let me tell you this, okay? Cardi's lawyer get increasingly agitated with her. Like, he sounds so annoyed towards the end. We'll get to that. It's time for Cardi's lawyer to ask Emani's question. He gets to the stage. He addresses Emani. He jumps straight to the first question. Your lawyer showed you photos of the building that you were working on at as a security guard in February 2018. Do you know the name of the building? Emani says, "I don't know the name." Oh my god, it's time to go home. Was it Beverly Hills Medical Center? Emani says, "It could have been, yes." Oh my god. So Cardi's lawyer is trying to ask if Emani knew Cardi was going to the medical appointment when Emani saw her. Emani replies with, she didn't know where Cardi was going, but she saw her at the building. Security guards in the comment, please, if someone so high profile like Cardi B is coming to your building, would you be informed? I believe it's safe to assume that security would be notified ahead of time, but you let me know. Cardi B's lawyer is not here to play around. He tells Emani, whatever you said in deposition and whatever you are saying right now in this courtroom is still under oath, and there are penalties for perjury that applies in this courtroom. You testified that you understood when you saw Cardi B that she was going to a medical appointment. What he's saying is that she didn't just saw Cardi B at the building. She knew Cardi B was there for a medical appointment. He's trying to get specific. Cardi's lawyer continues with, after this incident, you talked to your supervisor and she told you to submit an incident report, correct? Yes. And you email an incident report to your supervisor 2 days later, right? Emani replies, I don't know about 2 days, but I sent it to her. Yes. Cardi's lawyer gets specific. Quote, and it was by email. Emani replies with, I'm not so sure how she received it. Because of this, Cardi B's lawyer is like, let's bring up the documents since you want to play. He didn't say that. And then Emani lawyers goes, I'll object to based on authenticity. The way that he said that was so painfully weak. Guys, like he didn't even believe that he objected to something. So he had to find a reason. Authenticity. Okay, this word, again, if you're practicing law, you need to let me know more. I did a little bit of a research. It means that the document hasn't been approved yet, but Emani's lawyer could be objecting because this document is a surprise and was not included in the evidence book, which is the thick binder. But Cardi B's lawyer explains that he has the document to prove that whatever he wants to show is legit. The company that Emani used to work for is called Ally Security. Cardi's lawyer sent Ally Security a subpoena to get this official document, which is the email regarding the incident report. Okay, now let's quickly talk about incident report. Essentially, it's a formal written document that is factually and objectively details any event that occurs outside of the ordinary. It has to include who, what, where, when, why, how, for anything that is not a routine patrol. Incident report is not a daily thing. Daily thing is more a daily activity report. Okay, now let's go back to the courtroom. In front of Emani is a binder and it's open and looks like on the page where there is a printed version of the incident report. This email is sent to Ally Security, her supervisor at Ally Security. Cardi B's lawyer asks, "Do you recall that now?" Emani is looking at the email. She replies, "I don't, but I'm looking at what you gave me." On that piece of paper includes her email address, her supervisor's email address, and the date was February 26, 2018. Cardi's lawyer asks, and the subject is incident report. "You see that?" Emani says, "Okay, I see it. Yes." Okay, so I didn't know this, but apparently before going to court, when you file a lawsuit, there's a discovery period. Discovery period is the period between you filing the lawsuit and the courtroom session. Again, lawyers in the comments, please let me know. This is what I've read. In this period, in the discovery period, you have to answer questions to the case. And you have to sign that whatever that you are answering are true under oath. Cardi's lawyer, to be honest, he keeps trying to refresh her memory, which is fair considering that the story had changed so much over the 7 years. Cardi B's lawyers basically asked, "Do you remember receiving a list of questions that you have to answer to truthfully?" She says, "I'm not so sure," which is not good luck because so far, so early on in the cross-examination, she already looks quite evasive and vague with her answers. He brings out a set of papers that she signed and he says, "You look at the last 2 pages. Is that a verification by you, signed by you under oath that the statements in the response are true and correct?" He's waiting and Emani is looking at the paper and then she asks, "I'm sorry, were you asking me?" Cardi B's lawyer is basically asking Emani to look at the paper she signed because she agreed to the statement that, quote, "plaintiff has no emails related to this lawsuit." Emani looks at the paper and she asks, "Are you asking me about this email on the paper?" Emani is visibly irritated. Like if there's at any point in this recording, she's most irritated now and also towards the end. Here is what is happening. Cardi B's lawyer is trying to identify that she was untruthful while answering this question because she submitted this piece of court document stating that there was no email in regards to this lawsuit. Emani defended herself saying, "Well, that's correct. I don't have access to this email anymore. What do you think?" This is the first bomb. It would make sense, right? When we leave our job, we're not going to have access to our work email anymore. But if you have used your work email for a specific purpose and you are asked about this specific incident, would you have said yes or no to the statement that you did not email anything in regards to this incident? Would you say yes or no? I'm about to drop another bomb, but we'll keep it for later. Cardi's lawyer brings up another document and same thing, same statement, same signature. But then again, Emani says, quote, "I'm not sure if I said that in this document." Everything is the same. She still insists that there was no email in regards to this incident. You need to fire your lawyer right now. Throw that pen away and you need to stop signing anything. Get on my team. I don't sign anything. We're tired. I'm tired. You're tired. We are all tired because Cardi's lawyer even told her to open the document and go to page 4 to 5. She had already had her document placed to the side. The document is closed and to the side. Can we move on? No, we cannot. Cardi B's lawyer is like, if the memory serves, it's in both. Look at it. Emani looks at it. Okay. You can't say okay. No, okay. No, okay. Emani is asked if she even wrote the email that was sent to the supervisor, and she just answers with that she does not have access to the email. When she's asked if she wrote the email, she says she's not sure she knows what Cardi's lawyer is asking. Oh my god. But you please help me understand this. Is this strategic? Because I'm not familiar. I'm just frustrated right now. What is happening? According to the email that she doesn't know about, that apparently she did not write, it was stated that she was the daytime guard on duty at 89 Wilshire Boulevard. She had 2 cell phones, 1 work phone, 1 personal phone. She had her cell phone to her ear. Cardi's lawyer stops, looks at her. Do you see that language? She says, okay. I believe what he's trying to get to is that she wrote this and she in fact had her phone to her ear, which aligns with what Cardi says in day 2 and also her opening statement. Anyway, she says, I see it, yes. You wrote that 2 days after the incident. Emani says, I don't remember writing this, but if this is what you have, oh, rest this shoulder with words only. I don't know why I'm doing this now. I feel like it's a bit late, but I just want to say this. This lawyer on Cardi's team that is doing the cross-examination is an older gentleman, white hair, but he's very sharp. I believe he's very patient right now. Towards the end, you're going to see that he gets irritated. At one point, he told the judge to address her because he's tired of it. He's like, I'm not going to address you anymore because you don't listen to me. Not his words, my words. In the email sent from Emani to her supervisor at Ally Security at the time, here's the content. Now we finally get to see what the fork was written on the email. I was conducting a routine patrol of the building premises, and as part of that patrol, I checked the rooftop, or the tenant's level, and the parking garages at approximately 1:30 p.m. I was finishing a patrol on the 5th floor of the building. In my hands, I had 2 cell phones, the work phone, and I also had my personal cell phone. I held my cell phone to my ear, checking my voicemail because my mother is recovering from cancer and is in chemotherapy. So sometimes I don't get the calls and have to check the voicemail. This is read out loud by Cardi's lawyer to Emani. He asks, do you remember that? Emani replies to that with, I'm reading it with you, yes. And this catches Cardi's lawyer a little off guard. I think, like, from the sound of it, he asks if what she's saying means that she has no recollection of this 2-page email detailing the event that she had sued over. She says, quote, I remember writing an incident report and sending it over. So you did write something, but you don't remember what you wrote. Whatever that you wrote was so traumatizing, but at the same time, you don't remember what happened. They go on a break. Do you need a break? Go take a break. Watch this video and come back later. Then the lawyer and the judge had a little session, and I think it's about like them fighting because it was Cardi B's lawyer versus Emani's lawyer. They were like fighting about something. I don't understand. If you're a lawyer and you want to know, I'll timestamp it. You can let me know down in the comment. They come back from the breaks, black boots. Emani's asked if she wore black boots on the duty as a security guard, and she says yes. Next, earpiece. Emani previously testified that she had an earpiece when she saw Cardi B, right? This is in her opening statement. But in the incident report, Emani wrote that she had her phone to her ear. Emani says to that, okay. Cardi's lawyer gets specific. Is that correct? Emani replies, quote, that's what it says on the paper. Yes. What he is doing right now is trying to highlight the inconsistency. Let me ask you something. If a celebrity come up to you and sort of just pick a fight out of nowhere, would you document everything? Would you remember the encounter? I don't wish that upon anyone. If that were to happen, would you take photo? Would you keep evidence with you? I would. Again, she comes off so evasive and just like vague, as if she doesn't really want to admit what she said. Back to the email, is at this point that we find out that the incident report is sent from her own personal email. Oh my god, babe. It was at gmail.com. What the I thought that it was work email because it would be reasonable as to why she wouldn't have access to the email, but surprise. Emani agrees that the incident report is done when something happens and that she also did daily activity reports. After this, they move on to Emani's T-Mobile invoice for February 24, 2018, allegedly because this was objected to by Emani's own team. She received a call that lasted 2 minutes at 1:30 p.m. This is when the incident happened. So she could have been on a phone call, which is why her phone was to her ear instead of listening to a voicemail. At 1:40, which is 10 minutes later, Emani made another phone call that lasted 8 minutes long. Cardi's lawyer asks, whose number is that? They show the number, and I'm not going to show or say here. I actually don't even remember the number. I don't want to remember. But Emani doesn't remember whose number this is, but she alludes to that is probably one of her family members. We find out later that it's actually her mom's phone number. They move on again. Now they get to a point where Emani testified saying that she saw Cardi and she had a fan reaction. From Cardi's lawyer quotes, you knew it would have been improper for you as a security guard to tell people that Cardi was a patient at a medical facility, correct? Emani replies, I didn't tell anyone I saw her. She did not answer the question. But you see, everything that he's saying is going chronologically. Cardi's lawyer asks again because Emani didn't answer the question. Isn't it true that as a security guard who has been trained, as you said, and worked for 4 years, you knew that it would have been improper for you to tell people that Cardi B was a patient and at a medical facility? They try to object, but it gets overruled. Emani has to answer the question. She says it would be improper, but I did not tell anyone I saw her. Cardi B's lawyer continues, going to strike everything after improper. Pack your bags. We are going to withdraw. With the question on her professionalism, Cardi B's lawyer continues with how Emani had denied claims on her taking photos or videos of Cardi, but the phone that Emani was holding at the time of the incident can no longer be found. She doesn't have that phone anymore because she disposed of it. Let's move on to the interaction, the multi-million-dollar incident. According to the incident report that Emani doesn't recall writing, she said, I stepped out of the elevator and asked her to repeat what she said to me. So she did, angrily putting her finger in my face and yelling at me. The reason why that they're bringing this up now is because Emani was asked just a moment ago whether she simply left or she actually stepped out of the elevator. But in the incident report that she sent to her company, she told Cardi to repeat what she said. So this is not exactly trying to calm things down. This is what we call engagement. But I guess what she's trying to do is that she's trying to imply like she didn't start a fight. She simply tries to calm things down and that she could have left. Emani also insists that she did not yell at Cardi. Cardi was the one yelling at her. Emani was just firm when she was saying things to Cardi. The moment when people heard the commotion and people stepped out to intervene and got in between Emani and Cardi, according to Emani, they did that because she was in my face. Cardi's lawyer asked, and you testified in your deposition that Cardi spit at you after the other people came out of the doctor's office. Isn't that correct? Emani answers, she did. In the courtroom, you are supposed to be very direct with your answer. You're supposed to say correct, incorrect, yes, no. He proceeds to say strike as unresponsive. You see what I'm talking about? He's getting increasingly annoyed. He's like, I'm just not going to deal with this. Let's just forget this because why not? But the judge, I think, asked him to clarify the question and not strike it as unresponsive. So he repeats. Emani finally answers yes. In the incident report, it was also mentioned that I advised Cardi B that she needed to get her finger out of my face because I had not did anything to her. She then responded by spit at me. And as a result, I became angry and yelled out to her to leave me alone and go about her business. A few moments later, I remember a few people coming out and trying to separate. The whole time, as he was reading it, Emani is just looking at the paper. Cardi's lawyer continues, you stated in your incident report that Cardi's nails were 3 inches long that day. Emani says, they were. You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say correct, incorrect, yes, no. Cardi's lawyer at this point doesn't even sound happy. He does not just say strike that as unresponsive. He directly looks at the judge and tells him to tell the witness to answer his question. So he asks again and she says yes. Okay, now I'm going to make a table. On Emani's deposition, Cardi pointed her fingernail at Emani's face. But on the incident report, she scratched Emani's nose. On the trial, Emani testified that Cardi cut her cheek. What they're trying to do now is just trying to get Emani to admit to those inconsistencies. They bring up the incident report again. Third paragraph. At this time, she continued to yell at me and point her 3-inch acrylic fingernails into my face, scratching my nose. See that? Emani says, yes, but into my face. But no, they did not come for this. He asks again, at your deposition, you specifically testify that you were not scratched on your nose that day. You were scratched on your cheek. Honestly, I gotta tell you at this point, deposition, trial, I'm confused. I'm sad, I'm tired and confused. Nose, cheek, fingernails, are we doing a makeup glam up tutorial? No. Emani answers, she touched my nose, but she scratched my cheek. She touched my nose. Supposedly, Emani demonstrated the interaction between her and Cardi and that they were nose to nose, and Cardi jabbed her cheek.
Cardi put a finger in your face. Where in your face was it?
She struck me on my nose and on my cheek. She wears her nails very long, very bedazzled, very sharp. So yes.
And you said it made contact with your nose?
Yes, and my face.
And so 2 times she touched you?
Yes, so she was like this.
When you say like this, she put her finger?
Pointing, yes, so like this. Pointing her finger in my face, yes.
And it touched your nose?
Yes.
What part of your nose?
Whatever part of the nose that the nail landed on, yes.
Oh, I mean, is it the bottom, the middle, the top?
I'm not sure.
And which cheek did she touch?
My left cheek.
With this, Cardi team is asking, you said your nose and cheek, so she did nothing to your body. Because remember, Emani said that she did harm her head, face, and body. So they continue to try to get the specific out of Emani. At one point, Imani's looking at the judge or somebody like, can you believe this guy? He's still asking me on this. But this is the clip that went viral.
Finger, sir.
Ma'am, the question is, in your incident report, you told your supervisor 2 days afterwards that you suffered a scratch on your nose and no other scratches were mentioned, correct?
Okay.
What does okay mean? You agree?
I don't agree with what you're saying, but I'm saying okay for the purposes of your question.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that means.
What does it even mean? In the purpose? Okay, let's see. Question. Do you want to go to lunch? So that's the question, right? What's the purpose of that question? The purpose of that question to ask me to go to lunch, right? And I say, okay. Then we are going to lunch. Then we agree to go to lunch? But to be honest with you, I gotta say, the lawyer's brain, so fast. He's so sharp. It took me so long to purpose to a question. It almost sounded philosophical. They move on to Cardi's lawyer asking, after the incident, you didn't know if there was any blood. Emani says, it broke the skin. Again, answer the question. So what happened was that Emani testified at the position if the alleged scratch at this time on her cheek even had blood. She didn't go to the doctor that day for this alleged assault battery. However, this does not make sense because she alleged that she was assault and battery, beaten up, scratched somewhere, and she went home and took a nap. Emani replies with, I was upset. I'm upset now. Emani called her mother, not her grandmother. She never put a band-aid on this alleged scratch. Remember that beautiful moment when Emani said she didn't plan to sue, which is why there were no photos and they get quickly objected to? Let's revisit that. So at her deposition, Emani testified that she took photos that day, but she can't find them. Something changed. Just now, Emani said that she decided that she didn't want to be a security guard anymore after this incident because she was traumatized, right? She didn't want to be a policeman anymore. But actually, she was fired. She was fired for acting unprofessional as a security guard. And Emani says, yes. And it was through It's true. The lawyer continues. Cardi's lawyer continues. And in the incident report, you apologize to your employer at Allied for acting unprofessionally and exposing them to potential liability. Is that true? She takes a second. She reads the paper and refreshes her memory. It's true. Let's continue this. After she was fired, she got a new job that paid more than being a security guard, which she consulted with Dr. McKenzie. The reason why she consulted Dr. McKenzie was because she filed for a workers' comp claim. Emani met up with Dr. McKenzie to file this claim against Allied Security. Then we get to her medical records. I'm going to play the clip because I can't really catch some of the things that Cardi's lawyer said, but I also don't want to not include it. So please, if you're in the medical field, you can let me know.
Ask this question, but they did diagnose you as having severe obesity, correct?
Yes.
And they did conclude that you had full capacity and no history of patient status change. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
The only pains that you complained of, January 25, 2021, December 27, 2021, were belly pain and low back pain, right?
Objection calls for expert opinion.
Overruled.
Correct?
Yes.
And you hurt your finger at one point, right?
I'm not sure.
Well, I can show it to you, but let's just move on. You had various things, tailbone pain, right hamstring pain, but you had no report, no reference in 161 pages of medical records to a scratch on your face. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So with that medical records, they're essentially trying to show the court that Emani didn't have reports about a scratch on her face. Anxiety, post-traumatic stress syndrome, blows to her head or face, and Emani agrees. We also find out in 2021, Emani was in a car accident and she was sued over that. Cardi's team pauses, speaks to one another. They revisit the point where, Emani sees Dr. McKenzie. We talked about how you told Dr. McKenzie the truth about what happened, right? Yes. And you told her that Cardi B almost scratched you. Isn't that true? Emani answers with, I'm not sure, almost. After the event, you called Tiara Malcolm, the receptionist who put her body in between you and Cardi B and took your blows. You call her up to try and get her to help you in this case. Isn't that true? But Emani answers, I'm not so sure. Is it a bad idea? Is it a bad idea to say I'm not so sure? Because right now, looking at this, I think it's a bad idea. Let's look at it from a non-law related point of view. Imagine you are having a debate with someone and their answers are always vague. They don't give you a straight answer. It's always, I'm not sure. It was a lot. If that's what it says, you wouldn't be having fun with that debate in a history class. You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is that I don't think there's anything wrong saying I'm not sure, but you can't use that all the time, because if you use it too much, it just comes off as so evasive and whatever you say doesn't sound concrete. But then again, I'm not a law major. Cardi's lawyer takes a second, then he says, I'm just double checking. I also want to reiterate that in your deposition, you claim you testify under oath. He keeps reminding her, this is under oath, oath, oath. I feel like I'm coughing. That Cardi spit on you after Miss Malcolm and others came out of the doctor's office to try and stop you from going after Cardi B. Isn't that correct? Emani answers, yes. Remember this because Miss Malcolm, the receptionist, testified after. And you know what? The internet has come to a conclusion that the only person who was hurt out of all of this is Miss Malcolm. If anyone's gonna get that 24 million, it should be Miss Malcolm. But back to this case, Cardi's lawyer is really again trying to point out all the inconsistency in Emani's words. Under oath, did she spit at her before or after? Because there's so many things that has changed. Is this going to change also? This is the end of cross-examination. Now it's time for a redirect examination. He's grabbing the bucket and the mop because this is messy as hell. Imani's lawyer wants to read her deposition out loud. I guess because, you know, Cardi's lawyer kept referring back to the deposition. I'll mention the ones that we just talked about that are, I think, crucial. If you're a lawyer watching, please let us know more about deposition. Based off my very limited knowledge, deposition is a set of questions that you have to fill out under oath. Deposition takes place in between filing of lawsuit and the court date. For this case, it's somewhere between the 7 years and, can I call it the discovery? You let me know, guys. When Imani's lawyer is reading her deposition, here's a few things that we found out. She's not sure when she prepared the incident report. She said, and I quote, "Part of what Jasmine wanted me to do was write an incident report. Not sure how long after it was done." End quote. Who is Jasmine? From the sound of it, it sounded like if Jasmine didn't tell her to do it, she wouldn't even have done it. It could have been that it was so traumatizing that she decided not to revisit, or it could have been so insignificant that she forgot the details. Fighting with Cardi though, I mean, I would remember if I fought with Cardi. I would remember every word. Oh, please, Cardi, don't come for me. I don't want to fight with you. I want to fight with you in a cute way. You know what I mean? Other than this, we also find out that incident report is usually in a pre-printed form, but they didn't have it in the location, assuming this is Beverly Hills Medical Center. So Imani was told to type it up. And then Imani's lawyer wants to get the, oh, did you hit her nose, her cheek, her face, her body? Which was it? Straight. So they revisit the part on her incident report. And Imani sort of showed it to everyone.
Was going like this. Her nail touched my cheek, touched my nose.
Did it actually cut your cheek?
Yes.
Did it cut your nose?
No.
Besides this, he also asked her about her T-Mobile phone bill, and he tries to imply that she wasn't making any phone call during the incident. This gets objected to, but Imani confirms that she did make a phone call 10 minutes after the incident to her mother. So she didn't tell anyone that Cardi was at the medical center before the incident. It is at this point that her lawyer tries to do more damage control, bring in the pressure hose because the bucket and the mop is not cutting it. He says, "Your Honor, if the court may take judicial notice of the complaint in this case, because the discovery response that was read is verbatim as to what the complaint says." This is law language, but did a little bit of research. He basically said, "Girl, we said what we said, but she's not a robot. We were just trying to be precise legally, so it may not translate accurately in this environment." And again, when he was asking this question, again, you're asking this and you're hoping that the judge would say yes, and I feel like you should sound confident, you should sound firm. He doesn't even sound confident. Anyway, the judge says no. The judge no was more firm than his entire sentence. So that's about it for day one. What do you think? Do you think that there's too many inconsistencies, or do you think that it's true and it's too traumatizing, and which is why she doesn't remember everything? What do you think? In this channel, we talk about a lot of stories. I talk about Love Island, dating stories. I am going to talk about ghost stories. I chose this for this video. This is my very first legal related video because I feel like the whole thing is so comical. You know, there's so many inconsistencies. To bring this up to a courtroom and to ask for such a huge amount of money, you have to have very solid evidence to support your case. Let's see how this video goes. If it goes well, we'll do day 2, maybe day 3. Well, if you made it this far, you might as well subscribe, okay? Or check out my other videos while you're at it. And I'll catch you in the next one.